Lindsay here with Truthitude, and this week I wanted to talk about a very important topic. As many of you know, September is Suicide Awareness Month, and although it is a dark and gloomy subject, it's an important topic because unfortunately, too many of us have had our lives affected by suicide. There is one thing that I wanted to bring up, particularly because I don't see a lot of conversation around this topic. I haven't heard really any research about it. I haven't read anything about it. And what I'm talking about is when somebody is contemplating suicide, if their loved ones know about it, if their friends or family are aware, they will typically try to convince the person not to do it using rationale like they will be incredibly missed, or it will be devastating to the family, or life just won't be the same without them. And what I'm talking about is all of those justifications are real, and people use them all the time to try to convince somebody not to take their own life. But if you are in that space where you're contemplating ending your life and you know that you will be missed and your family will be devastated and maybe life won't be quite the same without you, if you've dealt with a lot of death in your life or you've dealt with loss, I think this is especially true, you realize that yes, you'll be missed, but life goes on. You have experienced death in your life, you've experienced loss in your life, and you know that even though you miss that person, life goes on and people carry on with their daily lives. And so when people reach this conclusion that, yeah, I'll be missed if I take my own life, but my family will move on and they will go on with their lives, that is what I call the point of no return. And it's a very scary space for someone to be in because logically it's true. And I think that this is especially true for people who have dealt with a lot of loss in their life or a lot of death in their life. I know for me, this was my reality. And being someone who has contemplated suicide and who has attempted suicide, thankfully not successfully, this is what I used to convince myself. This was my point of no return. I have dealt with a lot of death in my life. I have lost a lot of people to violence, to addiction, to trauma, to cancer, to, accidents. I have lost a lot of people, and yes, I miss them, but I continue to move forward with my life. And it was that rationale, knowing that life continued on without me and that it would continue on without me, that made it that much more okay for me to take my own life. And this is why I think this topic of conversation needs to become more prevalent in these conversations about suicide, because it is the point of no return. And I'm not saying that it's a guarantee that someone will reach this conclusion and, attempt or successfully attempt suicide. But what I'm saying is that it makes it more of a certainty. It increases the odds that they will attempt and maybe attempt again. So I bring all this up to say that it needs to be part of the conversation, and there are a lot of factors that go into suicide. I am a firm believer that suicide has no type, and I want to make another point too, that at least for me in my experience, my suicidal thoughts and attempts came from a feeling of not enough and a feeling of unworthy. And when people try to convince others that are contemplating suicide that they will be missed, or that other people will be affected, or it's selfish and you should think about what it's going to do to other people, that's only reinforcing that their value is based on what other people think and feel. And that's not addressing the root issue of them feeling unworthy in themselves. So I think we need to change that conversation and reiterate to that person that they have value intrinsically and all on their own, and that it's not conditional based on, how other people feel or how other people would react if they were gone. I don't have all the answers about that. I just know that it took me a long time to reach that feeling of I'm worthy and I'm enough all on my own, and it doesn't matter how other people feel about me. And I think helping people realize their own intrinsic value is critical to preventing suicide. It is completely preventable, and I think just paying more attention to people and feeling more connected with them, and doing more and putting more effort into reaching out and being a better friend and being a better lover and being a better family member, and just checking in from time to time, and being relentless about checking in and nurturing those relationships, I think is what is really going to help someone who may be thinking about ending their life. There's a lot of conversation about looking for tendencies and behaviors and personality traits and any kind of indicator as to whether or not a person is contemplating suicide. And the fact of the matter is that sometimes you can tell and sometimes you can't. And I would argue that the majority of the time you can't. Nobody knew that I was contemplating or even attempting suicide. Nobody knew. Because that's how good I was at keeping a secret. And thankfully, my attempts were not successful, but they were there and nobody knew. And it wasn't even until I was an adult that I even shared this with people. So I just want you to be aware of this rationale that exists, this convincing ourselves that we will be missed but life will go on. I think that is the point of no return. And so if somebody is having conversations or thoughts about suicide, or if you are experiencing these thoughts and you have reached this rationale, this point of no return, please get some help, get somebody involved, because no matter what you're going through or what this person is going through, they need to know, and you need to know, that suicide is not the answer. And I know that is so cliche, but it's not. You always have a choice. Even if you can't see the other side, things will get better as long as you keep moving forward. That's it for me today. I really hope that this was of value to you. I know it's a dismal subject, but I think it's important. It's touched a lot of lives, and I'm hoping that this helps somebody out there, even if it's just one person. So if you or anyone you know may be thinking about ending your life, or they're ending their life, please reach out. I'll leave a link to the Lifeline below, and I just hope that you know that you are loved and you are valued and you matter, and suicide is just, it's not worth it. Your life is valuable. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was informative. Please tag a friend that maybe needs to hear this, or maybe somebody who needs to be a little bit more informed. If you have questions or comments, please leave them for me. I would love your feedback. I thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself and take care of one another. I'll see you guys next week.